God encourages the reverent use of Jesus' name to draw closer to his presence. It's not just a name like any other, it carries the breath of heaven and the authority of eternity. When you speak it in love, in awe, in surrender, something shifts in the unseen. Heaven leans in, peace settles over chaos, the air changes. It's as if a sacred door opens and the presence of the Almighty draws near, not because of ritual, but because of relationship. You're not just calling out to history when you whisper, Jesus. You're calling into the heart of God. You're calling light into darkness. You're calling healing into broken places. This name, so often misunderstood or taken lightly, was never meant to be thrown around in frustration or anger. It's not a filler word for moments of irritation. When it's misused, it stirs sorrow in the spirit. Not just because it's disrespectful, but because it distances the soul from the warmth of divine intimacy. But when you lift that name in truth and reverence, with faith that believes and a heart that bows low, something holy happens. The name Jesus becomes more than a sound. It becomes a shelter, a banner, a weapon of hope in weary hands. It becomes a reminder that you are never alone, that heaven knows your name too, that God, in all his majesty, stepped down into the dust of this world to meet you where you are. You can feel it when you say his name with reverence. You can feel the atmosphere respond, not because the sound is magic, but because the heart behind it is anchored in trust. Jesus spoken in surrender has the power to still storms inside you. It has the power to draw tears from eyes that forgot how to cry. It restores reverence in a culture that's forgotten how to kneel. And in that reverence, there's rest, there's strength, there's a knowing that you belong to something eternal and holy. It doesn't matter where you've been, the name still holds. It doesn't matter how far you've drifted, the name still calls. And when you speak it not as a habit, but as a cry for closeness, it carries weight, it carries beauty, it carries heaven's own breath. That's why the misuse of the name grieves the spirit. Because it was meant for glory, not for mockery. It was meant to bless, not to curse. It was meant to pull people near, not push them away. So now, in this moment, with your heart tender and eyes open, speak his name again, but slower this time. Let it rise from within, not just from your lips. Let it echo from the place where you've hidden pain, fear, longing, or regret. Jesus. Let it carry all the things you can't say. Let it be the bridge when words fail. Let it speak to the Father for you when your voice shakes and your courage runs thin, because it will, and he will. The name Jesus isn't just holy, it's personal. It's how the broken find healing, how the lost find home, how the restless find peace. And it's how you, wherever you are, and whatever you're facing, can step into the nearness of God. Just by calling, just by whispering, just by knowing that this name, when used with reverence and love, does more than reach to heaven, it draws heaven down to you. So guard it with honor, use it with truth, speak it with love. Let it not just be part of your prayers, but part of your breath. And in every moment you say it, believe that something unseen stirs in response. Because it does. Because the name Jesus, when carried by faith, will always lead you closer to the Father's heart. Always. Jesus' declaration, "It is finished," wasn't a cry of defeat, was a roar of victory. Spoken from the cross with his final breath, those words cut through the ages like thunder across a silent field. They weren't whispered in weakness. They were proclaimed with divine authority, sealing the greatest triumph ever, non-triumph over sin, over death, over every chain that ever held a soul in darkness. When he said those words, the veil tore. The separation between man and God fell. What was once unreachable became near. What was once broken began to heal. That moment wasn't just for history, it was for you, for the ache in your chest, for the shame in your past, for the questions that keep you up at night. It is finished means the price has been paid in full. Nothing left hanging, nothing left uncertain. The weight you were never meant to carry has already been lifted. Believers are not left to wander in guilt or fear. You're not just forgiven, you're adorned with righteousness, like a robe woven with grace, placed gently on your shoulders by the hands of the Savior himself. Not because of what you've done, but because of what he completed. You walk not as a slave to the past, but as a son, a daughter covered in the victory he declared. And because of that, you're called into something more. You're called to walk in joy, not the shallow kind that fades with circumstances, but the kind rooted in unshakable truth. The joy of knowing that nothing can separate you from His love. The joy of waking up each morning and realizing that His mercies are brand new, waiting for you like the sunrise. That joy becomes your strength, just as the word promised. It steadies you. It lifts your chin when life tries to weigh you down. You're also called to walk in strength, not by your own might, but by the Spirit that raised Christ from the grave. That same power now lives in you, not as a distant idea, but as a living presence. It's what gives you courage to stand when the winds howl. It's what gives you peace when you should be breaking. It's what keeps your fire burning when everything around you goes cold. This strength isn't loud, it's steady. It doesn't always look like shouting from rooftops. Sometimes it looks like whispering Jesus through tears and still believing that He hears you. And then there's purpose. You weren't just saved to be safe, you were redeemed to be sent. There is purpose woven into every step you take, even the ones that feel unsure. You carry light, now real, radiant, unstoppable light, and the world is desperate for it. Your words matter, your love matters, your presence in dark places carries the fragrance of heaven. Not because you have it all together, but because you carry the one who does. So don't shrink back. Don't let the weight of your past whisper lies about your worth. The cross already settled that. It is finished didn't mean you're finished, it meant your freedom has begun. Your walk may still be messy, there may still be scars, but none of that disqualifies you. In fact, it's through those very places that His glory shines brightest. Where you've been healed, others will find healing. Where you've been restored, others will see hope. Remember this, you walk not to earn love, but because you are already loved. You move forward not to prove something, but to live out the truth of what's already been spoken over you. Righteous, redeemed, chosen, free. That's who you are. Because of Him, because of the cross, because when Jesus said, "It is finished," heaven stood in silence and hell trembled. Now, you walk in the echo of that victory. Every step, every breath, a testimony to the one who finished the work and now invites you to live in its fullness. Faith is more than belief, it's deeper than words or whispered prayers in the quiet. It's more than agreeing with the truth, it's standing on it when everything around you shakes. Faith is not just a thought in your mind, it's the anchor of your soul. It is trusting in God's goodness and His plans even when you cannot see the road ahead. It's walking forward into the unknown, not because you're fearless, but because you know who walks beside you. Faith says, even here, God is good. Not just when life is bright, but when shadows fall. Not just when the answers come quickly, but when silence stretches long. That's where faith lives, in the waiting, in the wrestling, in the times when prayers feel unanswered and the heart feels raw. Yet even in that, God is working. Even in the quiet, He's speaking. Even in the stillness, He is present. He never leaves. He never looks away. He is closer than your breath and stronger than the storm. He is always present. Not sometimes, not only when you feel worthy, not just in the victories, but always. In every step, every stumble, every sacred in-between moment, He is there. As your protector, He stands between you and every dart the enemy hurls. You don't always see what He shields you from, but His hand has kept you more times than you know. What didn't reach you is proof of His covering. He watches over you with eyes that do not sleep and a heart that never stops loving. As your guide, He doesn't just point from afar, He leads with care. He knows the terrain, He knows every twist, every valley, every high place, every dark forest, and He walks the path with you. When you're unsure which way to go, trust that He already knows. He's not hurried, He's not lost. His timing is perfect, even when it feels slow. Every delay, every closed door, every detour is part of His design, not to harm you, but to shape you. Trust that no step is wasted. And as your companion, He walks with you not ahead in a way you can't catch up, and not behind as if forgotten. He's beside you, shoulder to shoulder, heart to heart. When your strength fades, He doesn't grow tired. When your hope flickers, His light remains. He rejoices when you rejoice. He weeps when you weep. You're never alone, not in the wilderness, not in the fire, not in the night. Even in trials, His presence is steady. The fire might burn hot, but he walks through it with you, just as he did with the three in the furnace. The flood might rise, but it won't overwhelm you, because he holds your head above the waters. You may be pressed, but you won't be crushed. You may be struck down, but you're never destroyed. Trials don't mean he's distant. In fact, they often reveal just how close he is. He doesn't promise life without trouble, but he does promise that trouble won't have the final word. This is the kind of faith that grows in the soil of trust. Not blind trust, but trust shaped by history, by the countless times he's shown up, provided, healed, restored, redeemed. Remember the times he came through. Write them on your heart. Speak them out loud when fear tries to whisper lies. Your story is not built on chance, it's built on covenant. A covenant sealed by blood, secured by love, and carried by grace. And so you walk in faith not as someone trying to earn God's favor, but as someone who already has it. You rest in the truth that his plans for you are good, even when they unfold in ways you didn't expect. Faith doesn't mean you always understand. It means you trust even when you don't. It means you cling to his promises more than the pain. You hold on to his word more than the weight of the moment. This kind of faith changes how you live. It brings peace where there should be panic. It brings strength where there should be surrender. It brings light to the darkest places. And in that, others see. They see not just your perseverance, but his power in you. They see a life carried by more than human effort, a life carried by divine presence. So keep walking, keep believing, keep holding on to the truth that your God is faithful. He has not left you. He never will. And as long as your eyes stay fixed on him, you will never walk alone. There's a strength that rises when you know you're not walking this path by your own power. It's the quiet confidence that comes from being rooted in something unshakable, God's presence. When everything in the world feels uncertain, when chaos circles like wine through dry leaves, there is still peace for the one who trusts in him. This peace isn't found in control, nor in knowing what comes next. It's found in knowing who holds tomorrow. It's found in the quiet certainty that he goes before you, making the crooked places straight. And this peace, this unwavering strength, does not come from ease. It comes from experience, from walking through the fire and realizing you are not burned, from standing in storms and finding you're still standing, not because of your own ability, but because of the one who held you. This strength comes when you remember the times God carried you, even when your knees buckled. It's not pride that makes you bold, it's remembrance. It's trust. It's walking with your eyes open, not just to what is around you, but to who is within you. Faith is not passive. It doesn't wait in fear. It steps forward in obedience, even when the steps don't make sense. It builds when you pray, not just for answers, but for alignment. It grows when you lean in, not just to ask for blessings, but to listen for his voice. And his voice, it doesn't shout over the noise. It speaks in stillness, in the quiet of your spirit, in the moments when you're willing to pause and let his presence settle over your worries like a gentle rain. God is not far off. He is not some distant observer watching your life unfold from above. He is here, close enough to whisper, strong enough to carry, tender enough to heal. And his hands, they're not just mighty, they're marked with love, marked with the price he paid so you could be free. So you could walk with confidence, knowing that every sin, every shame, every chain has been broken. There's power in that freedom. Not just freedom from sin, but freedom to live with purpose. You were not made just to survive. You were made to walk in joy, to carry light, to bring hope. Your life matters. Your presence carries weight, because wherever you go, the Spirit of God goes with you. You are not just walking through life, you are walking it out as a vessel of heaven. You are a living testimony that God is faithful, that he still speaks, that he still heals, that he still moves in the hearts of those who trust him. So when fear arises, when doubts come knocking, remember this: God is not done with you. The chapter you're in may feel heavy, but the story is not over. He writes, with eternal ink, not temporary moments. What feels like an ending is often just a turning point. What feels like silence is sometimes the space he gives you to grow roots. He is more committed to your transformation than your comfort, because he sees the end from the beginning and he calls it good. Walk in that truth. Don't rush the process. Let your faith breathe in the moments that stretch you. Let your trust grow deep in the seasons that test you. Because every trial you face is not just an obstacle, it's an opportunity, an invitation to lean deeper into grace, to grow in character, to shine brighter in a world desperate for real hope. And in those places where you feel weak, those are the very places God shows up strong. He never asks you to carry it all. He asks you to cast it, lay it down. Surrender what's too heavy for your hands into His, because He is the keeper of your soul, the restorer of your joy, the lifter of your head. You don't have to pretend to be strong. You just have to be willing to trust. So lift your eyes, not to the mountains of fear, but to the maker of heaven and earth. Let His promises be louder than the lies. Let His truth be the foundation you build your days on. And let your life, your real, messy, miraculous life, be a song of praise to the one who never lets go. A deep relationship with God brings transformation, healing, and spiritual empowerment. It begins in the quiet places where the heart softens and listens. In those moments, the soul awakens, no longer chasing what fades, but standing still before what is eternal. God does not demand perfection. He desires connection. And in that connection, something sacred stirs, a shift of identity, from brokenness to beloved, from weakness to warrior, from wandering to anchored. When a heart fully leans into God's presence, change doesn't come by striving, it comes by surrender. This surrender isn't giving up, it's giving over. Giving over fear for peace, doubt for faith, shame for grace. That's where healing begins. Not in hiding wounds, but in offering them to the one who carries scars of His own. Jesus, the wounded healer, meets us there. He doesn't rush our process or shame our pain. He walks with us through it. Step by step, He restores what was once thought lost. To place trust in God is to choose hope when despair lingers and to believe there's purpose even in the silence. Trust says, I don't see the way, but I know the waymaker. That kind of faith, raw, honest, and enduring, draws down heaven's strength. And when heaven's strength touches earth, mountains move, hearts mend, and dry places bloom. Blessings don't always arrive how we expect them. Sometimes they come in the form of closed doors that protect, delays that develop character, or battles that build courage. But always, they're wrapped in the wisdom of a Father who sees the whole path while we stand at a single step. Trust doesn't eliminate hardship, it illuminates God's presence within it. And that changes everything. Strength as God gives it is quiet and steady. It doesn't boast, it endures. It doesn't control, it covers. It comes from knowing you're held when the world shakes. From remembering whose you are when voices try to define you. The strength of the Spirit is different from the strength of the world. It is gentle yet unbreakable, humble yet undefeated. The Holy Spirit empowers believers with confidence and joy. Not a fleeting joy that vanishes in hardship, but a deep-rooted joy that remains even when the winds rise. It's the kind of joy that comes from knowing you're never walking alone. The Holy Spirit whispers to the soul, you are held, you are known, and you are never forsaken. In that whisper, courage awakens. In that assurance, confidence begins to rise not from pride, but from divine presence. Confidence in the Spirit doesn't shout, it stands, it doesn't strive, it flows. It grows in the quiet, knowing that God is working behind the scenes, writing a story greater than we imagined. The Spirit strengthens us to keep moving forward when the road is long. He breathes life into dry bones and hope into weary hearts. And when we feel small, He reminds us that we carry something mighty inside. God sees the struggle. He doesn't ignore it or overlook it. He acknowledges every tear, every sigh, every moment when faith feels fragile. His love isn't based on how strong we appear, but how willing we are to lean on Him. And when we do, something shifts. We begin to see through a different lens, not just the problem, but the promise. Not just the pain, but the purpose. He doesn't promise a life free from trouble, but He does promise His presence through it all. When you feel unseen, He calls you chosen. When you feel empty, He pours out more. And in the place where it seems like nothing is happening, He is preparing everything. His provision doesn't always come in the way we expect, but it always comes on time. Sometimes it's in the form of people who show up with kindness. Other times it's in the strength to take one more step. Often, it's in the peace that makes no sense but feels like home. Provision is more than just meeting needs. It's God's way of reminding us that He is near. It's manna in the wilderness. It's water from the rock. It's grace in the waiting. And through it all, His Spirit remains active and not distant, not silent, but alive in us. That same Spirit who hovered over the waters in creation now hovers over the chaos in our lives, bringing order, light, and life. And in this journey, the Spirit becomes our compass, not just a comforter, but a guide. He nudges us when we drift, corrects us with gentleness, and leads us with peace. Even when the path is unclear, His presence is the map. He leads not just to destinations, but through transformation. We become more than survivors, we become vessels of glory. And in that transformation, joy is not just a feeling, it's a strength. Confidence is not just posture, it's purpose. When we're weary, the Spirit intercedes with groanings too deep for words. When we're uncertain, He reminds us of truth. When we forget who we are, He calls us back to who we've always been in God's eyes, beloved, redeemed, chosen, and empowered. That's the beauty of walking with the Spirit. It's never about what we can do on our own, but what He does through us when we yield. There will be days when doubt knocks, days when fear whispers. But the Spirit speaks louder not with noise, but with authority. And His voice says, "Keep going, you're not alone, heaven is backing you." That kind of assurance doesn't remove the battle, but it changes how we face it. We don't walk in defeat, we walk in the authority of the one who conquered death. And so we move forward, with joy that sustains, with confidence that anchors, with a trust that grows even in the unknown, because we know that wherever the Spirit leads, life will follow. Peace will bloom, strength will rise. And through it all, God will continue to be exactly who He promised, faithful, near, and enough. Believers are urged to speak life over themselves. My past is behind me. With those words, something ancient stirs a truth older than the mountains, one that echoes through the valleys and over the waters. It is the sound of redemption rising, the whisper of grace unfolding, and the voice of the Father saying, "I am doing a new thing." No shame from yesterday can hold you. No failure has authority over the plans of the one who made the stars. You are not the sum of what you've been through. You are the reflection of His mercy. The Lord, steady as the rising sun, calls His people to walk forward without the chains of regret. Those chains, broken at the foot of the cross. When you declared, "My past is behind me," you didn't just speak words, you released faith. That kind of faith shakes the dust from your feet and lifts your eyes to the horizon. God does not define you by your scars. He sees the beauty rising from your ashes. He hears the heartbeat of one who's decided to believe again. And in that belief, there is power, resurrection, power. Not just to survive, but to thrive, to walk boldly in the light of who He is. God promises victory. Not maybe, not sometimes, but victory that's sealed by His word. He is the God who parts seas and levels mountains. When He says He'll make a way, He means it. When He speaks of triumph, it's not in shallow terms, but in deep, eternal ways. Even in the middle of the storm, there's victory in knowing you're not alone. Even when the night is long, there's victory in holding on to hope. The victory God promises isn't just for the end of the battle, it's in every step, every breath, every prayer whispered in faith. He wraps His people in protection, like a warrior standing guard over a sacred fire. When fear creeps close and shadows try to whisper lies, God's truth roars louder. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. That's not a hopeful wish. That's a covenant. His angels surround you. His Spirit fills you. His hand is upon you. So when you walk through fire, you won't be burned. When the rivers rise, they won't sweep you away. His covering is not thin or fragilate, it's thick with promise, woven with eternity, sealed in love. And He will fulfill His divine purpose in your life. This is not an empty promise, but a sacred vow. Before you were born, He wrote your days in His book. He saw your laughter and your tears, your battles and your breakthroughs. Nothing catches Him by surprise. He works all things together for your good, even when the pieces don't make sense yet. Your purpose is not something you have to chase, it's something He unfolds as you walk with Him. You don't have to strive for it. You just need to stay close, trust, and keep saying yes. Sometimes purpose reveals itself in quiet moments, when you're comforting someone else, when you're praying for a friend, when you're choosing peace over anger. Other times, it bursts into view like a sudden sunrise, showing you the road ahead with clarity and light. But always, it's anchored in Him. Your purpose is to reflect his love, to be a vessel of hope, to walk with courage in a world that needs light. And when doubts come, as they will, speak again. My past is behind me. My God goes before me. Declare it not just to yourself, but to the heavens. Let every word be a testimony. Let your voice rise like incense, fragrant with faith. Speak life, even when life feels hard. Speak joy, even when sorrow tries to press in. Speak truth, even when the world shouts lies. There is power in your tongue. There is life in your voice. Heaven listens when the children of God declare who they are and whose they are. You are not forgotten. You are not forsaken. You are not a mistake. You are chosen, set apart, called, equipped, empowered. Your story carries weight. Your prayers move mountains. Your obedience opens doors. God is not just watching your journey, he's walking it with you. And as you keep going, don't forget the promise. He will fulfill his divine purpose in your life. Not by your strength, but by his spirit. Not by striving, but by surrender. So go forward now, bold and free. Let your past stay where it belongs behind you. Let grace be your banner, and let faith be your guide. The road ahead is full of promise, not because it will be easy, but because God is in every step, and with him, all things become possible. Doubt and fear are distractions. Believers must reject them and remember God's love. These tway out and fear come sneaking like shadows at dusk, whispering lies that aim to blur the clarity of God's promises. They dress themselves in reason, in what-ifs, and worst-case scenarios, trying to plant seeds of uncertainty in hearts meant to flourish in faith. But the people of God are called to something greater. You were not made to tremble. You were made to stand. You were not made to question his goodness. You were made to declare it. Fear is not your inheritance. Doubt is not your companion. Love is perfect love. And that love, his love, casts out fear like light pushing back the night. When fear rises like a wave, don't forget who walks on water. When doubt rattles your spirit, remember the one who speaks peace to storms. The love of God is not a fragile emotion, it is a fortress. You are safe in it, you are strong through it, and you are called to reject everything that would try to steal your peace. Fear may knock, but it doesn't get to come in. Doubt may whisper, but you don't have to listen. Lift your head, straighten your spine. Speak truth to yourself and to the heavens. My God is for me. His love is unwavering. His hand is steady. Prayer, trust, and courage help overcome financial, health, and relational challenges. These are the tools of the faithful, not the tools of the world, but of the kingdom. Prayer is not a last resort. It is the first line of strength. It's the language of warriors, the sound of the soul returning home. When you pray, you're not just speaking into the air, you're engaging with heaven. You're aligning your spirit with the heart of God. And in that moment, things begin to shift. Not always in ways you see right away, but always in ways that matter. Trust is the soil where miracles grow. It means placing your knees every worry, every lack, every burden into his hands and leaving them there. Financial struggle may press in, but God is still Jehovah Jireh, your provider. Health battles may shake your body, but he is your healer, your sustainer, the breath in your lungs. Relationship tensions may threaten to tear you apart, but his love reconciles, restores, and renews. There is no challenge too great for the one who holds the universe and still cares about your smallest sigh. Courage doesn't mean you never feel afraid. It means you keep moving even when fear tries to paralyze you. It means showing up again and again with a heart full of faith and hands open in surrender. Courage is deciding that God's voice matters more than the noise of the world. It's choosing to believe when nothing makes sense. Choosing to praise when it would be easier to complain. Choosing to keep walking when you're tempted to give up. And in all these things, you're never alone. The Spirit of God walks with you into the doctor's office, into the bills piling on the table, into the silent spaces between people you love. He walks with you not as a distant observer, but as a present help. His guidance isn't vague or far away. It's clear, it's timely, it's real. The still small voice within you is the same Spirit that raised Christ from the dead. He knows your needs, he sees your heart, and he's not intimidated by anything you face. Sometimes the breakthroughs come quietly, like a sunrise slowly warming the earth. Other times they burst in like thunder, unmistakable and bold, but always they come. God is faithful. He sees what you sow in tears and promises you'll reap in joy. He watches every act of obedience, every sacrifice made in love, every moment of silent endurance, and he does not forget. What you entrust to him, he multiplies. What you release, he restores. What you pray, he answers in his perfect timing and his perfect way. So when challenges command, they will stand in the truth of who your God is. Don't let your mind be clouded by lies. Don't let your heart be weighed down by fear. Speak life, speak faith, speak his promises over your life and the lives of those you love. Declare it even before you see it. Provision is on the way. Healing is happening. Relationships are being mended. God is at work. You are not weak. You are mighty in him. You are not forgotten. You are deeply known and deeply loved. And the same God who brought you through before will do it again. Your past victories weren't accidents. They were reminders. Your current battles aren't punishments. They're invitations to deeper faith. And your future? It's held in hands that do not fail. Keep praying, keep trusting, keep walking in courage. Because God's love is real, his power is strong, and his promises are true. No accusation or enemy can override God's plans. The voices that rise against you may sound loud, and the weapons formed may appear threatening, but they will not prosper. God's plans are sealed, secured by his covenant, and nothing spoken in opposition has the power to undo what he has already declared. Accusations may come from the world, from the enemy, even from within your own mind, but none of them stand in the presence of his truth. You are covered, you are shielded, you are protected by the one who sees all, knows all, and reigns above all. There will always be those who misunderstand, who judge, who throw stones with words and glances. But their voices are not final. Their opinions are not divine. Their judgments are not just. God alone sees the heart. He alone knows your journey every step, every misstep, every time you turn back to him with trembling hands and a heart that long to be right. And he responds, not with wrath, but with mercy, not with condemnation, but with grace. The accusations may echo for a moment, but his word thunders for eternity. This one is mine, chosen, set apart, redeemed. Even the enemies of your soul, the unseen forces that try to break your spirit have no hold when you're rooted in the love of God. They may come in the night, cloaked in fear, discouragement, or shame, but you carry a light they cannot extinguish. The spirit within you rises against every darkness. The promises written over your life are not suggestions. They are decrees. And no scheme, no curse, no lie can cancel what God has set into motion. Believers are reminded of their divine worth and the certainty of God's justice. You were never an afterthought. You were formed with intention, shaped by divine hands, and spoken into existence with purpose. Your worth is not determined by what you've done, what you've lost, or what others say is anchored in the truth that you were made in the image of the Most High. When God looks at you, he sees beauty. He sees strength. He sees the reflection of his own heart beating in a human soul. The world may try to reduce you to labels, to define you by past mistakes or limitations, but heaven calls you beloved, righteous, chosen, holy. Not because you've never fallen, but because grace has picked you back up. You are not forgotten, not discarded, not overlooked. You are remembered, redeemed, restored. And for every wrong done against you, for every injustice, betrayal, or broken promise, know this: God's justice is not delayed. It is sure. It moves in quiet power and perfect timing. You don't have to fight for your own vindication. You don't have to carry the weight of revenge or the bitterness of being wronged. Let God be your defender. He sees what was done in the dark. He knows every silent tear, every aching prayer, every moment you chose mercy over anger. His justice is not fueled by wrath, but by righteousness. He restores not only what was lost, but what was stolen. He heals not just the wound, but the root of pain beneath it. And he promotes those who stay humble in the fire, who keep their integrity even when falsely accused, who choose love when hatred would be easier. That's where your power lies, not in retaliating, but in rising. So walk forward today with the confidence of one who knows their name is written on the palm of God's hand. Don't shrink back in fear. Don't second guess your value. Don't let anyone or anything make you doubt who you are in Christ. You are royalty not by birthright in this world, but by adoption into the eternal kingdom. You wear the robe of righteousness, not earned, but gifted. And with it comes authority, spiritual authority to speak life, to declare truth, to cast out lies, and to stand unshaken when others fall. The battles you face aren't signs of God's absence. They're proof of your calling. The enemy doesn't fight what he's not threatened by. And if the war has been fierce, it's because your purpose is mighty. So hold fast, stay grounded. Let your heart rest in the knowledge that your story is being written by a faithful author. One who doesn't skip over the hard chapters, but uses them to shape the most powerful testimonies. Keep your eyes fixed on him, not on the accusations, not on the threats, not on the noise. His word over your life still stands. His plans are still in motion, and his justice is already unfolding. Trials are shaping tools in God's hands, just as clay is molded by the potter. They are not sent to destroy, but to refine, to press into the soul what words alone cannot teach. Fire hardens the vessel, but only after the shaping hands have formed it with care, and so it is with us. The discomfort of the trial is not the absence of God, but the mark of his craftsmanship. He leans in close when the molding begins. He smooths every edge with wisdom, every pressure with precision. We are not left unattended in the kiln of hardship. We are watched over by the master potter, who knows exactly how much heat we can take before our shape is sealed in strength. Love is the greatest virtue, and God's presence is everywhere, even in the mundane. Not just in the sanctuaries or the sacred moments, but in the stillness of a kitchen at dawn, the laughter of a child, the slow unfolding of a day's ordinary rhythm. God is in the motion of every sunrise, in the quiet patience of washing dishes, in the long conversations beneath open skies. Love shines clearest not in the grand gestures, but in small, intentional acts. In the way we speak to each other, in how we forgive and how we serve. Love humbles itself, it listens, it weeps with those who weep. It stands beside the hurting and carries the burdens of others not for applause, but because it must. It is divine in origin and eternal in purpose. And when we love like that, when we give without counting cost, when we speak truth wrapped in grace, when we offer kindness even when it's undeserved, we become vessels of God's very breath. We don't just talk about his love, we embody it. We become rivers of living water to the thirsty souls walking beside us. And even when no one sees, heaven takes note. God is not unaware of the unnoticed offerings. The silent sacrifices are honored in his presence. Life is a mosaic of grace, and God uses every moment for good. What feels broken in isolation finds beauty in the greater pattern. The mistakes, the detours, the missed chances all are pieces in his hands. He fits them together not with force but with purpose. What we might throw away, he redeems. What we regret, he reshapes. He is not confined to only using the good things. He is God over the mess, the mystery, and the miracle. The story he is writing with your life will include every season, every shadow, every sunrise. There is no wasted experience in the life surrendered to God. The pain you walk through will one day be the path others follow toward healing. The weakness you carried will become the strength someone else leans on. What was meant to break you becomes a bridge. What was sent to stop you becomes a step. The hand of God does not tremble in uncertainty. It moves with assurance, with sovereignty, with love. So when the day feels repetitive or the struggle lingers longer than you hoped, remember, the mundane is sacred when it is offered to God. The smallest act of obedience is a stone in the foundation of something eternal. God is not only in the miracles, but in the moments in between. He walks beside you when no one is watching. He whispers truth when lies scream loud. He pours out strength when your reserves are gone, and he holds every piece of your story in his heart.